Brakathia Hawa, Brakathia Washai, Brakathia Hawa, Brakathia Washai, Brakathia Hawa, Brakathia Hawa, Bashim Yahweh Bahashim, Chakudash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Zadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shaman. This week's topic is going to be entitled, Did Eve really eat an actual fruit? Or did Eve eat an actual fruit? Something of those lines. What does the fruit represent in Genesis 3? You know, because most depiction of Adam and Eve are way off. One, they have them as so-called white people, and we know that the original people were people of color. Okay, they were people of color. All right. Specifically so-called black people, Negroes, if you could understand. All right. And two, all right, they weren't biting into an actual apple or pomegranate or whatever the fucking theologian scholars are telling you. All right. Now, what inspired this lesson was a video that my woman had sent me, and the first thing that came to my mind was Eve biting into the fruit. And I'm going to elaborate on that, and I'm going to share this video with you brothers. And I hope at the end of this lesson, you guys, the brothers, were edified, man. So I'm going to go ahead and play it.
So y'all, the men out here crying again. They lonely, they sad. They've been gaslighting us on social media, talking about you gonna grow old alone, when it's really their own fear. Because we all know, any of us in healthcare, please drop it in the comments and verify. The men in hospitals, don't nobody come and see them. Men in nursing homes, nobody come and see them. These are the men that grow old alone. Women have their family, their friends, their girlfriends, sorority, church family, everything. We are thriving when we are single, because who wants to be in a relationship when the relationship is a burden? If you married and got 2 kids, now you got 3. It's many women that have been divorced with children that tell you it's easier for them to do it themselves than to have someone running interference with what they're trying to do. And child-free women, honey, we out here living our life and we are thriving. Being single is a blessing. You feel yourself, you get to enjoy yourself. Being with a person who is emotionally unavailable is detrimental to your health. Point blank, period. So y'all, the men out.
All right, so this black woman is spewing a philosophy that she didn't come up with. She was programmed to think this way. All right, so if you could see where I'm going, who was pushing this feminist be alone agenda? First of all, let me get something in the scriptures, because she's talking about it's better to be single, be alone as a woman, and yada yada. But when you read the book of Genesis 5:2, the Lord said, male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. So the Lord created a male and a female together. They were meant to be together. All right. Life cannot go on with a man being alone or a woman being alone. We have to come together through sex and produce children. That's why the Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. How the hell are you going to be fruitful and multiply if you're single? You see? All right? And when you read the book of Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter and the 8th verse, it says, there is one alone, like this woman here. There's one alone, and there is not a second. Yea, he hath neither child nor brother, yet is there no end of all his labor. Neither is his eye satisfied with riches. Neither saith he, for whom do I labor and bereave my soul of good? So what's the point of laboring and doing all this shit if you don't have anybody to share it with? This is also vanity. Yea, it is a sore travail. 2 are better than 1. See? 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor, right? So families, it's better to establish a family, all right? Well, according to the scriptures, not in this society, a man would have a wife, or if possible, multiple wives, to start together a generation. For if they fall, for the one will lift up his fellow. Exactly. So when you fall, you're supposed to have somebody there to help you up, and you women are meant to have a man to lift you up when you're down, and vice versa. A dude get down, a woman could help a man out in another way or whatever specific way. There's certain things women provide to men that another man can't provide. You see? But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. And that's the worst thing you want to be. All right? So this whole idea of you single woman being alone, what you gonna do when all hell breaks loose out here? You already seen rape going up, murder going up. People are losing it, beating women over the head and raping them. Why? Because there's no man around to protect them. See? And not only that, when you're raising a child without a father, guess what? A father provides more than just financial stability, man. He gives a certain sternness and strict guidelines for kids, and the data shows that fatherless homes breed the most degeneracy, man. It breeds rapists. It breeds the most homeless. It breeds the most people getting locked up. It definitely has a huge effect on a family structure when you don't have the father in the house. And who is pushing this agenda? The so-called white man. And Eve, so-called black woman, is eating that shit up. You know, I pretty much gave away the answer to the lesson, but she's eating it up. Where did she get this philosophy from? Being alone and shit. When, wait a minute, even during slavery times, the so-called blacks was the most married. Kevin Samuels, rest in power, as they would say, always used to bring this out, that black people, even during slavery, was the most married, having the most kids and all that. Hell, in Egypt, we came in Egypt 70 souls, and we left damn near close to 1 million. Over 600,000. Why? Because under stress, when you stressed out, you have sex. That's one way to release your stress. You know, you could drink or whatever, but our people was going through a whole bunch of hell and having a whole bunch of kids. During the pandemic, when people were locked up and stressed the hell out, what they were doing, having kids, namely Jake. So the so-called white man knows that his woman is not as fertile and he's not as fertile as an Israelite. The woman is not as fertile and he don't, produce as much as an Israelite man would. So to suppress our people, they've formulated different fruits. One being be single, be an independent woman, Don't rely on a man. Get help from the government. Have abortions. These things he's pushing upon our people. Why? To lower the number of Israel, just like the Egyptians did. All right? Because abortion is in the scriptures. Pharaoh said, look, any male child come out, put him to death. Of the Hebrews, of the Israelites. See? So the so-called white man is the modern day Pharaoh. He's thinking about any different craft he can, all right, to suppress our people, to bring our numbers down, to bring down you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's why you in the ghettos. That's why you in the hoods. That's why they telling you safe-sex condoms and that's why they telling you be lonely and have abortions. Just anything to suppress the numbers of Israel, because Israel keeps growing. Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast. Now that serpent means snake-like, a fucking snake. When you call somebody a snake, it don't mean an actual reptile. Scriptures tell you one flesh, is not another flesh. So that serpent that you're hearing about, that was more subtle than all the beasts, is talking about one particular snake amongst these other beasts or other nations of the field, the world, which the Lord powers had made. He was the most subtle under the web, very crafty. You see, when a so-called white man wants to get his way, he crafts it in a way that it is positive. It's seen as positive. So the so-called nigger woman here, in her simplicity, all right, is just devouring the fruit that the so-called white man then put out there, his philosophies, his lies. I'm going to get the precepts, all right? And having other nigger women just eat it up. It says, and he said unto the woman, by the way, she's right. She's right. There are more single men than there are single women. There's a lot of single women, but here's the thing, though, because women in today's time has become extremely, extremely high-minded and proud that a woman that is average does not want an average man. You see? And when a man has power, which is quantified into some sort of looks, money, or status, still every woman gets a shot. Drake could fuck a fat bitch. It doesn't matter. Still a woman will get a shot at him. But if a woman has some sort of power, able to get attention, not everybody gets a shot. Only a finite few. So this is the problem. This is the issue. In times past, before social media, she was only limited to her social circle. Now, with the advent of Instagram and all this type of shit, you got these women that's getting flown out by millionaires, and the guys in their town is never seeing them. See? So this again, another plot by the so-called white man to lower populations and birth rates, man. And there's literal data showing you that before these social media apps and dating apps and all that type of shit, there was the ratio of men to women having sex were like equivalent, man. See, now it's a whole bunch of women having sex and quite a few men having sex. It's crazy, man. This is again another fruit and philosophy set up by the so-called white man. It says, and he said unto the woman, yea, hath the Most High said, he shall not eat of every tree of the garden. All right. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. So we may bite into the philosophies. This is also very equivalent to the so-called nigga woman getting wrapped up in the college system and the university system, going off to different universities to what? To consume the fruit, consume the philosophies of nations. You know? But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High said, he shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So if you consume their particular philosophies, you will die. Like example above. Telling a woman to be alone, divorce your man and be happy, that's gonna lead to death, man. For them children too. Here it is, Hosea 10:13. Ye have plowed wickedness, yea, ye have reaped iniquity, ye have eaten the fruit of lies. Read it again. Ye have eaten the fruit of lies, because thou didst trust it in thy way, in the multitude of thy mighty men. See, so the scriptures is written in code, is written in slang. So when it's talking about devouring fruit, it's talking about eating philosophy. It's not no goddamn apple you pick off a tree, man. All right? The fruits are the things that you utter. All right? And the things that your brain consumes in the belly. Just like how you would pick an actual fruit off a tree and you eat it and it goes in your stomach. Well, when you're dealing with the fruits of philosophy, it's the words and the things that you consume through hearing and your mind digesting it. Because guess what? When a lot of times when the scripture says belly, it's not talking about your stomach, it's talking about your mind. So your mind is consuming, all right, the philosophies. When she's eating right now, this whole the be lonely, whatever you've been, be happy, that's something she heard. She's consuming it in her mind, which the scriptures relate to her belly. All right? And she's flowing it back out, the same fruit, the same BS, to a bunch of other black women. And the nigga woman is the most least desired of all these women out here right now, man. And you can't say it's a skin color thing, because the Latin tribes, they dark, but men desire them. Why don't men desire the nigga woman? Why? Because she's combative. She's hand in hand with the so-called white man. And as the scriptures, it says in the book of Micah, she has become our enemy, man. For the most part, they're against the women of our nation are against us, you know. Brothers, a lot of brothers catch hell over a woman. When here it is, the Most High created them to be a helpmeet, they become now adversarial. And the majority of that is why, one, it was prophesied, Deuteronomy 28 chapter, all right? And two, they bite into the philosophies, all right, of the so-called white man, the serpent. It says, Proverbs 1:29, 29 to 31. For they that hated knowledge and did not choose to fear the Lord, they would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. How does the Lord reprove people? Through his men. The Most High's always had a mediator. He sets his men on the planet Earth, and they tell you what the hell is wrong from right. And the Lord's statutes, his commandments are set up in the scriptures, which the prophets interpret to the people. It says, therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way. See? They shall eat of the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. So the fruit of her ways, and this is just one example of many fruits and many philosophies that our people, starting with the nigger woman, has consumed, which is Eve. All right? Telling a woman to be masculine, telling to fill the role of a man, and you could be a man. Why? Because when they watch these Hollywood movies, they showing you a woman that weighs 125 pounds kicking a man's ass. Hey, I was watching that Predator movie. They call it Prey. Of course, they swapped out the strong male character. Hey, man, I miss the days of the 80s, man. You watch an action movie, the hero of the movie was jacked. Everybody was manly, no bullshit. Hey, Arnold and the guy that played Apollo Creed, when they dapped each other up, you saw them flexing, guns showing and all that. That's what we want to see, man. I don't want to see no little ass 15-year-old little woman fucking kicking a predator's ass, man. The shit doesn't make any sense. Here it is, you watching a movie, the predator bench press a spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen it. Spoilers. The predator bench presses a goddamn grizzly bear, bro, over his head. Shoulder presses a grizzly bear over his head, toss the shit. Then you have this little ass 125-pound woman jump on the predator and he don't know what the fuck to do. So every single movie you seeing, that's a part of the agenda. You going to watch a Thor movie? No, it's a female Thor. You went to the Hulk? No, there's a She-Hulk. Alright? Now they're coming out with Ironheart, which is a black woman being Iron Man. And guess what? Her armor is bigger than fucking Tony Stark's War Machines. And from what I'm hearing, they're going to replace the new Black Panther is going to be a woman. So it's a whole bunch of that fruit being popped into these women's mind. And you know that women are hive-minded creatures. I mean, men are hive-minded too, all right? But in terms of a man independent thought, you have a man more having independent thought than a woman. And they was breaking this down on that Fresh and Fit podcast that women had to have that. The society used to be shame society, right? So if a woman is in a group with her friends, all right, she don't want to feel the peer pressure of being ashamed by her friends, so she go along with the crowd. You see? That's how come these women that go on girls trips, she go on a girl trip and her friends are a bunch of hoes, and the friends are doing hoe like shit. There's a high possibility that your woman might do some hoe like shit. See? Why? Because that hive-minded peer pressure. So you gotta have an eye over your woman, your daughter, the type of friends that your woman and daughters have. You know? And the problem is this: in the ancient times, your daughter and your children, you were supervising them. They weren't going off to schools and to be institutionalized in the public schools. They wasn't subject to social media, man. When I was a kid, I was running around. I went back to Jamaica. All right, guess what? The little kids are on TikTok. And what they learn on TikTok, whatever the philosophies the so-called white man is putting in their phone to see, man. Because the younger somebody is, the easier their mind is to mold. So you can't tell me the so-called white man is not crafting the ways of madness. And that's why the society is completely out of whack. It says, therefore shall they eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. See? So that's what you are consuming. That's what what you are spewing out. That's what you're gonna digest. The fruit that you're putting out there, that's what you're gonna digest. Proverbs 18:20. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth. See? A man's belly, we already broke it down. The belly often represents the mind, shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, the philosophies, just like what we're teaching now. When we go into these breakdowns, all right, and these scriptures, and that's a fruit. It's a particular fruit, and when we consume it, we're satisfied with it. We're filled. Why? Because the scriptures are nutritious. It's bitter than sweet, yeah, but overall, bitter herbs are good for you, ain't it? And with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. As it is written, the Lord said, what? A man shall not be filled with bread alone, something to that effect. Oh, a man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word. Let me get that real quick, man. Let me get that real quick and we jump back. And this is Yahweh Shah speaking. Matthew 4:4. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Most High. See? So the nutritious bread is the word. So we see in that philosophy is likened onto bread, is likened onto fruit, it's likened onto something you consume. As they would say, food for thought. You see? Let me see, Deuteronomy 8:3. Okay, so when the Lord said a man shall not live by bread alone, he was quoting Deuteronomy 8:3. And he humbled thee and suffered thee, and he suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knowest not, neither did thy father know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live. Right. So, yep. And the manna from heaven, is this gospel that we preaching. See, it says, "A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." That's heavy right there. So death and life, Salakia, get that again. It says death and life are in the power of the tongue. Because what this woman is teaching is death, man. To separate a man from a woman, to be alone, and then mockery. Then mocking men for being alone. Oh, because the men are mocking us for being alone, but y'all alone too. Well, they both alone. They've now made it man versus woman an adversarial thing and something to strive for and compete to be against a man. A lot of women are going to eat this shit up, eat this fruit up, eat this philosophy up. And guess what? It only satisfied the belly of the so-called white man, because the so-called white man, he's not doing none of this shit. He's having families with his woman. They trying to have as much kids as possible. You know? That philosophy is only being pushed upon who? Upon the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The people of the Lord. You know, and it says they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So that's it. If you love life and death, if you love the philosophies and or rather the fruit, all right, that leads to death, and you're biting into it, chomping into it, consuming it, then that's what you're gonna reap. You're gonna reap death, man. But if you want life, knowledge, wisdom, understanding of the scriptures, all right, how to navigate through society, how to not fall prey to the philosophies and the fruit of the so-called white man, then you shall live. So with that, I hope you brothers are edified. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashim, Prachakudash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the oathful elect out there, you Akim to Sadakim that do the singing out of truth and sincerity. Shalom.